In the peaceful village of Obinica, where the air was always thick with the scent of palm wine and fresh earth, lived a young woman named Nora. Obinica was a place where tradition held a firm grip on the people, and the rhythms of life were dictated by the rising and setting of the sun. The villagers were known for their vibrant festivals, rich customs, and warm hospitality that greeted anyone who set foot on their red soil. Nora, in her mid-20s, was a woman of remarkable beauty. Her skin, the color of honey under the sun, was smooth and flawless. Her long, thick hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall of silk, and her bright, lively eyes held a certain allure that was impossible to ignore. But beyond her physical beauty, Nora was known for something more: a fascination with men who, as the village gossip would say, were blessed by the gods. Since her teenage years, Nora had developed a peculiar interest in men with oversized manhoods. It wasn't something she talked about openly, but those close to her knew that her relationships were often short-lived. The men she dated, though kind and handsome, never seemed to satisfy a deep yearning she felt inside. In Obinica, it wasn't unusual for a young woman to be picky about her suitors, but for Nora, her attraction went beyond the usual qualities of strength, kindness, and wealth. She sought something more tangible, something she believed would bring her ultimate satisfaction. Over the years, Nora had been with a few men from her village. Each relationship began with excitement and hope, but they all ended the same way: disappointment. The first was Jadena, a strong and hard-working farmer who adored Nora. He was everything a woman could want in a husband: reliable, loving, and generous. But after a few months, Nora found herself restless and unfulfilled. Jadena is a good man, she would tell herself, but something is missing. The next was Obina, the son of a wealthy trader. He showered Nora with gifts and took her on trips to nearby towns, but even his wealth couldn't fill the void she felt. No matter how many times she tried to convince herself that these men were enough, the longing for something more kept gnawing at her. Her friends didn't understand. They saw her as the luckiest girl in the village, beautiful, sought after by many, and always with a man by her side. But Nora knew that none of these men could satisfy the desire that burned within her. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Nora sat outside her family's compound, deep in thought. She had just ended another relationship, this time with Tahukwu, a kind-hearted fisherman who had adored her. But like the others, he had failed to meet her unspoken expectations. Her friend, Adaora, sat beside her, watching her with knowing eyes. "Nora, you can't keep doing this," Adaora said, shaking her head. "Every time a good man comes into your life, you push him away. What exactly are you looking for?" Nora sighed, staring into the distance. "I don't know how to explain it, Ada. It's not about their looks or their wealth. It's something else. Something I feel but can't quite put into words." Adaora chuckled. "You mean something you can't put into words? Or something you don't want to say out loud?" Nora shot her a sharp look, but couldn't help but smile. Adaora knew her too well. "Fine," Nora admitted. "I have a preference." "Is that so wrong?" Adaora exhaled and placed a reassuring hand on Nora's shoulder. "No, it's not wrong to know what you want. But have you ever considered that maybe you're chasing something that won't truly make you happy?" Nora frowned, her friend's words settling heavily in her chest. That night, as she lay in bed, she wondered if Adaora was right. Had she been so focused on one thing that she had overlooked the qualities that truly mattered in a partner? Little did she know, her perspective was about to be challenged in a way she never expected. One evening, as the women of Umachiko gathered at the stream to fetch water, their conversation turned to the men in the neighboring Hausa community. The Hausa people were known for their fair skin and tall stature, and their community was just a few miles away from Umachiko. They often traded goods with the villagers, and stories about their way of life intrigued the people of Umachiko. It was during this conversation that Nora first heard the name Idris. The women spoke in hushed tones about this young Hausa man who was not only handsome, but also incredibly wealthy. Idris's father, Malam Musa, was a rich man who owned vast grain fields in the north, and his family was highly respected in their community. But what caught Nora's attention was the whisper that followed. Idris, they said, was blessed in a way that few men were. He was known for having an oversized manhood, something that had driven many women away despite his charm and wealth. There were even rumors that Idris used a local enhancement called burantashi, which made his size even more intimidating. As the women giggled and exchanged knowing glances, Nora felt a spark of curiosity ignite within her. Could this be the man she had been searching for? The one who could finally satisfy the desires that no other man had been able to. A few weeks later, Nora had her first chance to meet Idris. The villagers of Umachiko were preparing for a market day, and traders from neighboring communities, including Idris, were expected to attend. Nora dressed carefully that morning, choosing a wrapper that clung to her curves and accentuated her figure. She braided her hair and adorned it with beads, determined to make an impression. When she arrived at the market, her heart skipped a beat as she spotted him. Idris was even more handsome than she had imagined. His light skin seemed to glow under the sunlight, and his tall, athletic build made him stand out among the crowd. He was dressed in a flowing white robe that contrasted sharply with his dark, curly hair, and he moved with a grace and confidence that drew the eyes of everyone around him. As Nora approached, Idris turned, and their eyes met. There was an instant connection, a spark that neither of them could deny. Idris smiled, revealing a set of perfect white teeth, and greeted her in flawless English. "Good afternoon, my lady," he said, his voice smooth and cultured. "You must be Nora. I've heard much about you." Nora blushed, taken aback by his charm and the way he spoke. He was unlike any man she had met before. His mannerisms were refined, his speech eloquent. He was, as Nora would later tell her friends, a man who spoke the Queen's English. They spent the rest of the day together, walking through the market, talking, and getting to know each other. Idris was intelligent and well-traveled, and he fascinated Nora with stories of his journeys across Nigeria and beyond. As the sun began to set, Nora realized that she had found something special in Idris, something that went beyond his physical attributes. But beneath the surface, the curiosity that had drawn her to him still lingered. She wondered if the rumors were true, if Idris was indeed as blessed as the women at the stream had said. As their relationship deepened over the following weeks, Nora found herself thinking more and more about what their first intimate encounter would be like. The thought consumed her, keeping her awake at night as she imagined what it would be like to be with him. She pictured their bodies entwined, the passion, the intensity, but also the fear. What if she couldn't handle it? What if the reality was too much for her to bear? Despite her reservations, Nora decided to take the bold step. One evening, after they had spent the day together, she agreed to visit Idris's house. She had dressed carefully, wearing a wrapper that hugged her body and a top that accentuated her curves. As she walked to his house, her heart pounded in her chest, a mix of excitement and fear coursing through her veins. When she arrived, Idris welcomed her with a warm smile. His house was as impressive as he was spacious, clean, and filled with beautiful furniture and decorations that spoke of his wealth. They sat together, talking and laughing, but Nora's mind was elsewhere. She knew what she had come for, and she could sense that Idris did too. As the evening progressed, Idris gently took her hand and led her to his bedroom. Nora's heart raced as they entered the room, and she felt a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. The room was dimly lit, and the air was thick with the scent of incense. Idris moved closer to her, his hands caressing her skin, and for a moment, all of Nora's fears melted away. But as they began to undress, the reality of the situation hit her. Idris was indeed as blessed as the rumors had said, perhaps even more so. As she saw the full extent of his manhood, Nora's heart skipped a beat, and a wave of panic washed over her. It was too much. She couldn't do it. Without thinking, Nora grabbed her wrapper and bolted for the door. Idris called after her, but she didn't stop. She ran through the house, clutching her wrapper around her body, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps. By the time she reached the front door, she was in full-blown flight mode, driven by a mix of fear and humiliation. As she fled into the night, Nora couldn't help but think about how foolish she had been. Her obsession with finding a man who could satisfy her had led her into a situation that she couldn't handle. She had been so focused on the physical that she had ignored everything else: her feelings, her comfort, her happiness. Nora didn't stop running until she was safely back in her home. Her chest rose and fell with heavy breaths as she tried to calm herself. She had never felt so embarrassed in her life. For days, she avoided Idris. She couldn't face him, not after what had happened. She was certain he would think she was a coward, and the thought of seeing pity or amusement in his eyes made her stomach churn. But Idris was not the type to be ignored. One evening, just as the sun was setting, he appeared at her doorstep. Nora's heart pounded as she opened the door to find him standing there, his expression unreadable. "Nora," he said gently, "can we talk?" She hesitated, but then stepped aside, allowing him in. They sat down, and for a moment, there was silence. Then, to her surprise, Idris let out a soft chuckle. "You ran like a thief in the night," he said, shaking his head with amusement. Nora's face burned with embarrassment, but before she could respond, Idris reached for her hand. "I want you to know," he continued, his tone serious now, "that I'm not angry. I understand why you were scared, and I don't want you to feel ashamed." Tears welled up in Nora's eyes. She hadn't expected such understanding, and it made her realize just how much she had taken Idris for granted. She had been so focused on the physical that she had almost missed the emotional connection that was growing between them. "I've been thinking a lot," she admitted, wiping her tears. "I realized that I was chasing the wrong things. I was so obsessed with finding a man who could satisfy me physically that I ignored everything else. But now I see that there's so much more to you, Idris. You're kind, intelligent, and you make me feel safe. I don't want to lose that." Idris reached out and gently took her hand. "Nora, I've cared about you from the moment we met. But a relationship isn't just about physical attraction. It's about trust, respect, and understanding each other. I want us to build something real, something that can last." His words settled over her like a warm blanket, comforting and reassuring. For the first time, Nora felt like she was making a decision that was truly right for her. It wasn't about chasing after a fantasy anymore. It was about building a future with someone who saw and valued her for who she really was. With their newfound understanding, Nora and Idris began to rebuild their relationship on a stronger foundation. They took things slowly, spending more time together not just as potential lovers, but as friends. They shared stories about their childhoods, their dreams, and their fears. They laughed together, learned from each other, and, most importantly, they listened. Idris took Nora to the fields his family owned, showing her the vast stretches of land where grains grew in abundance. He explained the work that went into cultivating the crops and the pride his family took in their labor. Nora, in turn, introduced Idris to the vibrant traditions of her own community. She took him to the local markets, where the air was filled with the smell of fresh produce and the sound of traders haggling over prices. She introduced him to her favorite foods, teaching him how to prepare traditional EBUBE dishes. Their relationship didn't go unnoticed by their communities. At first, there was gossip. People whispered about the EBUBE girl who had fallen for the Hausa man. Some were skeptical, others curious. But as the months passed, the gossip began to die down, replaced by admiration for the way Nora and Idris handled their relationship with maturity and respect. Idris's family welcomed Nora with open arms, treating her as one of their own. They respected her individuality and appreciated her efforts to learn about their culture. Likewise, Nora's family, who had been wary at first, grew to respect Idris for his kindness, intelligence, and the way he treated their daughter, Nora. And Idris's relationship blossomed. It began to have a ripple effect on the larger community. The EBUBE and Hausa communities of Umachiko had always lived side by side, but there had been an unspoken divide between them. They interacted for trade and necessary business, but there was little social mingling. Nora and Idris's relationship started to change that. Their love story became a symbol of unity, showing that despite cultural differences, love and mutual Respect could bring people together. It wasn't long before other young people in the community began to follow their example. Friendships between EBUBE and Hausa youths flourished, and soon, there were more intermarriages between the two groups. This newfound unity extended beyond personal relationships. The communities began to collaborate more closely on various projects, from farming to local festivals. The annual market day, which had once been a divided affair with separate sections for EBUBE and Hausa traders, became a vibrant celebration of diversity. People from both communities shared their foods, music, and crafts, enriching each other's lives in ways they had never imagined before. The elders of the two communities took notice and began to work together to strengthen these bonds. They organized joint meetings to discuss issues that affected both groups and found common ground on many matters. The shared respect and cooperation between the communities grew, leading to a stronger, more united Umachiko. Despite the growing acceptance of their relationship, Nora and Idris still faced challenges. There were some who could not accept the idea of an EBUBE woman marrying a Hausa man, and they voiced their disapproval loudly. A few members of Nora's extended family, steeped in tradition, warned her that she was making a mistake. They believed that the differences in culture and language would eventually drive a wedge between her and Idris. Idris, too, faced pressure from some members of his community. There were whispers that he was abandoning his heritage by choosing to marry outside of his tribe. Some even suggested that Nora's influence would weaken his ties to his family and culture. But Nora and Idris stood firm. They had come too far to let others dictate their lives. They continued to support each other, finding strength in their love and in the support of their immediate families. They knew that the road ahead would not always be easy, but they were determined to face any challenges together. In the midst of these challenges, there were also triumphs. Nora's relationship with Idris had helped her grow as a person. She became more confident, more sure of what she wanted from life. She found herself becoming an advocate for unity and understanding between different cultures, speaking out whenever she encountered prejudice or ignorance. Idris, too, grew in his understanding of love and relationships. He learned that a true partnership was built on more than just physical attraction. It was about mutual respect, open communication, and shared goals. He became a respected figure in both communities, known not just for his looks or his family's wealth, but for his integrity and the way he treated those around him. As the bond between the EBUBE and Hausa communities grew stronger, the time came for Nora and Idris to solidify their relationship. They decided to get married, a decision that was met with great excitement from both their families. The wedding was planned as a grand celebration that would bring together the entire village. It was to be a fusion of EBUBE and Hausa traditions, a symbol of the unity that their love had helped foster. The preparations took months, with both families contributing to the event. On the day of the wedding, the village of Umachiko was a hive of activity. The ceremony took place under a large canopy decorated with vibrant fabrics that represented both cultures. The air was filled with the sounds of drums, flutes, and singing as guests from both communities arrived to witness the union. Nora looked radiant in her traditional EBUBE attire, her skin glowing as she walked down the aisle with her family. Idris stood waiting, dressed in a rich Hausa robe, his heart swelling with pride and love. The ceremony was a blend of both cultures, with elders from both communities giving their blessings. As they exchanged vows, Nora and Idris looked into each other's eyes, feeling a profound sense of unity and purpose. Their wedding was more than just a marriage between two people. It was a powerful symbol of the new bond between their communities, a testament to the changes that love and understanding could bring. The wedding feast was a grand affair, with dishes from both cultures prepared and served. Guests danced to a mix of EBUBE highlife and Hausa folk music, celebrating the union with joyous abandon. It was a night of laughter, dance, and shared stories, an evening where barriers fell away, replaced by a spirit of camaraderie and celebration. As the night progressed, Nora and Idris took to the dance floor, surrounded by their families and friends. Their happiness was evident, their love a beacon of hope and unity. It was clear that their relationship had transcended the boundaries of their individual cultures, creating something truly special. The wedding marked the beginning of a new chapter, not only for Nora and Idris, but for their communities as well. The celebration became a turning point, highlighting the power of love to bridge divides and forge new connections. After the wedding, Nora and Idris settled into their new life together. They chose to live in Umachiko, where they could contribute to the community that had supported their relationship. Their home became a gathering place for people from both cultures, a symbol of their commitment to fostering unity and understanding. Nora and Idris worked on various projects aimed at strengthening the bonds between the EBUBE and Hausa communities. They organized cultural exchange programs where members of each community could learn about the traditions, languages, and customs of the other. These programs were well received and helped build a deeper appreciation and respect between the two groups. Their efforts had a ripple effect, encouraging more people to engage in intercultural dialogue and cooperation. The market days became a vibrant celebration of both EBUBE and Hausa cultures, with mixed stalls showcasing a variety of foods, crafts, and music. Festivals that once highlighted the differences between the communities now celebrated their shared values and unity. As time went on, Nora and Idris's relationship continued to flourish. They welcomed children into their lives, and their family became a living testament to the harmony that could be achieved through mutual respect and love. Their children grew up with a rich blend of both cultures, learning to appreciate and celebrate their diverse heritage. Their story inspired other young people in Umachiko to look beyond superficial differences and to seek connections based on shared values and mutual respect. Intermarriages between the EBUBE and Hausa communities became more common, and the once separate cultures began to merge more seamlessly. Nora and Idris's children grew up in a community where cultural diversity was embraced and celebrated. They learned the languages of both their parents, participated in both EBUBE and Hausa traditions, and contributed to the ongoing dialogue between the two communities. Years later, Nora and Idris looked back on their journey with pride and contentment. Their relationship had not only transformed their own lives, but it also made a lasting impact on their community. The once divided village of Umachiko had become a model of unity and cooperation, with the bond between the EBUBE and Hausa communities stronger than ever. They continued to be active in their community, working to ensure that the spirit of understanding and respect they had championed lived on. They became respected elders, known for their wisdom and their role in fostering the harmonious blend of cultures that now define their home. Their love story was told and retold, a source of inspiration for future generations. It was a reminder that love, when coupled with mutual respect and a willingness to embrace diversity, could overcome even the deepest divides. Nora and Idris's journey from initial misunderstanding to deep, lasting love was a testament to the power of relationships to bridge cultural gaps. Their story illustrated how personal connections could foster broader social change, encouraging understanding and unity between different communities. Through their efforts, they not only found happiness together, but also helped build a more inclusive and harmonious world. Their legacy lived on in the vibrant, interconnected community. They helped create a place where differences were celebrated and where love truly knew no bounds. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching, and stay blessed.